What is it exactly you do for a living?
John Dillinger loves banks.
That's a serious thing to say to a girl you just met.
I like baseball, movies, good clothes, fast cars, and you. What else you need to know?
Beast.
I know.
How low can you go?
The
Death
biography
Row.
of
What a Brother Knows.
Chuck
Once
D
again,
and
that
Flavor
is the
Flav.
incredible Prime Animal, the incredible D, Public Enemy #1.
What the hell
That
are
was
y'all talking
so
about?
wrong.
Public Enemy. Public Enemy.
Oh,
it's a lame joke, man.
Boy,
Come
is that
on.
lame.
I know.
Oh, you know
it's-
what? I'm sorry. Okay. Get up and get down. 911 is a joke in your town. Would you get that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even think there's a black person in this movie. So
To be honest, I thought we were reviewing the Hurt Locker first, so that's why I was like, "What the hell are y'all doing?"
No, Carlisle decided to do his greatest urban hits right now.
hey, Carlisle, what time is it?
4:30.
Fuck the police, coming straight from the underground. But anyway,
Vanilla Ice lives.
he is about as vanilla as you can get over there. But no, we're talking about Public Enemies, the new Michael Mann movie with Johnny Depp and what's that boy's name?
Christian Bale.
Christian Bale.
You were supposed to say Johnny Depp and Marion Cotillard.
And wait a minute,
That's
you talking
true.
about the
The-
girl in this movie,
yeah.
the one that was in
The Academy
Leon
Award-winning
Rose.
actress from
Le'Veon
Lo-
Rose.
Oh, Le'Veon Rose. Yeah, she's well. It's about John Dillinger, but
Yeah.
it's pretty much called Public Enemies because it has a lot of gangsters in it. Because 1931 to 35 is when we had the era of Public Enemies. So they mention other gangsters in here like Pretty Boy Floyd and Babyface
Nelson.
And
Nelson. Yeah,
This takes place in 1933, and you guys might know this best as that gangster movie that is oddly shot on digital. It just
Yes.
looks kind of wrong.
Well,
when watching,
Watching
the
the trailer, you're like, wait, this is too HD. This is
Yeah.
too much clarity
You-
for a
you know
movie.
what?
in
because it's
1933.
Michael Mann.
Well,
Yeah.
the thing was when you see the trailer, it was 2H. It was just 2 video, 2 reality TV, and yet they must have processed it some because it looked a little bit more filmish in the actual movie.
No, not really. I have to say
Yeah,
this.
to me.
Michael Mann, by the way, he's everybody knows him probably from the '80s, best from Miami Vice. But then he also directed what was the movie that he Collateral with Jamie Foxx and Tom
He did a
Cruise.
lot of other movies
Well,
besides
no,
that.
he did. Well, I'm talking about lately. I'm leading up to a point. He did Miami Vice, the movie.
Oh, yeah.
But lately he has become this big proponent of high definition video, which he uses to make movies with. Now, before that, he did like The Insider, but what is
Ali.
it?
And
did
hello.
and
How about
Heat.
Manhunter and Heat?
Oh,
Yeah.
Manhunter, which is Manhunter's not one of my favorites because it's so 80s, but it's a good movie.
Yeah,
It
no,
is.
but it's
they
the
remade
first,
it. Yeah,
they remade it as Red
Red
Dragon,
Dragon,
but it's
yeah.
the first of the Hannibal
Hannibal
Lecter
Lecter
movies.
Michael
yeah.
Mann's whole thing has always been very much about his style. Like all his films are extremely stylish, and this is too. And this is really the first time for me that it really drastically hurt the film for me. His style.
Because in the other movies, they take place in very urban areas, and there's a lot of shootouts, and we're used to seeing that used in modern times, especially with shootouts. We kind of associate that with war filmmaking, like going out in the middle of battle and showing all this shaky cam stuff, and it kind of adds to it. But when you do a period piece that takes place in 1933, it makes it look like everybody is in costume, acting like they're in that period.
Yeah.
Well, you get this distinct feeling that you're watching behind-the-scenes footage as opposed to actual footage from a
Yes,
film.
that's exactly
and,
it.
And the problem is the reason why is because Michael Mann, he doesn't mind what's called in the industry noise. He doesn't mind digital artifacts that come up from various lighting. Those cameras can be used to shoot very gorgeous scenes. These same cameras are the ones that were used on Superman, that were the ones I believe they used on The Dark Knight. You can get very beautiful images when properly lit and set up. But Michael Mann doesn't care about that. He wants to capture the raw, gritty reality, and he wants to put you in a documentary style feel inside the film.
Yeah.
And by doing that, he ends up screwing the whole effect because this is one of those time periods that you can't feel gritty and raw about that way. Because
Well, yeah.
everyone who is there, who remembers it, is pretty much dead or not going to see a rated R movie filled with violence and nudity.
One of the big problems too, it's unprocessed HD, and he sticks to like really close-ups and tight shots of the characters through all this, and you're literally playing count the pores through a lot of this movie. It's just you don't do that when you're using that kind of footage.
Well, I don't know what kind of cameras that they're using exactly. I know that there's different HD cameras that Hollywood is using. Some are better than others. And maybe he's using a not so expensive kind because maybe he's running with the camera, don't want to break it. I don't know, but this kind of camera really doesn't. You got to be careful how you film with these kind of cameras too, because they don't work well in bright light. You put it in well lit areas and don't film it right, you get strobing effects. You'll get, as you say, artifacting. You'll get, it looks like line resolution from a television set, and it just takes away from the feeling of a period piece. Now, that being said, there are certain scenes that are shot well, mainly low-lit areas, and there are certain beautiful scenes that are done, and he does shootouts great in this. So it makes for a good gangster movie, I think. Just a good gangster movie.
It's okay. It's just most of its problems are technical. I don't think they really got much depth into any of the characters at any point. They're very generic, really, all the characters that are presented here and the situations. But, you know, if it's not one tech thing, it's another. It's, for instance, the audio was weird. Some stuff was almost too clear. Like the sound of the guns was almost too much clarity mixed with the dialogue, which was all kind of muddy, as well as the soundtrack, which, like, some scenes there's a soundtrack and it's inappropriate, and other scenes there's no soundtrack and it just feels weird and off-putting.
You look kind of... Did none of this bother you, really?
No. I felt, for the most part, the complete opposite of you guys. I liked the look of it. As much as I thought I was going to hate that, first off, I didn't think they looked like they were wearing costumes. I was kind of impressed by, like, wow, it really looked to me like as if I'd gone back in a time machine and was filming this as it was happening. Because I've seen a lot of gangster movies shot the way you guys are talking about, where, you know, you do have that grain and grit and almost a feeling of old film stock. But this was something different, and I really enjoyed that about it. And, you know, there's plenty of other movies I could watch that have that. Like just recently watching Scarface, which I know isn't that same time period, but still.
Are we talking about the original Scarface, not the...
I'm talking about the...
You're not talking about what the... Settle on my little
Yeah,
thing.
I am talking about that.
Oh, you are.
I understand where you're coming from. I mean, you were there. You
It reminded
you were.
me.
It took you. You didn't go back in a time machine. You went back in your head and said, "That's exactly what
I
it looked
couldn't
like."
tell the difference.
That's true.
That's a great. He looks just like Johnny did.
I did shine Dillinger's shoes right before he went into the theater.
Well,
and the
you looked
motherfucker
up
didn't
and
tip.
you looked up and you said, "Wow, it really is as big as they say."
Damn.
And you know what? I love the shootouts. I like that sound. I like the fact that it's weird for me to say this because normally I don't go off on a tangent like this, but you know, the fact that the guns were so loud because that was what was important at that.
I agree with you on that.
Yeah, I mean, when it came to that, when it came to those shootouts, it was almost like putting you like, look, if you're here, these gun firings are more important than anything anybody else is saying because, hey, this is life and death. And, you know, there's some pretty gruesome deaths that go on in here, you know, even old, you know, Bonnie and Clyde style.
I see your point. I think for some people, having that video feel, it could actually make them feel like, wow, this makes me feel like I'm actually there. Like we moved back in time with a video camera. I'm just saying for me, it took me out of it.
No, I mean, I understand that.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. It's total personal taste thing.
Yeah, I think this is the very definition of a personal taste thing.
Yeah.
Because because I was there, I was like, okay, I see what he's doing and what he wants to achieve with this. And I just could never glom onto it. I could never ride with it. I tried. I wanted to. I love Michael Mann, but there was never a moment that I really was not hyper aware that I was watching this as a
it's
movie. With a
weird
bunch
for
of
me
actors.
to be in this position because I'm not a big Michael Mann fan. It's
Right.
like I like every third project of his, and to me, this had a lot of the problems that I don't like from his other movies, especially the crime movies, because there's not a lot of depth to the characters. They're all tough. They're all pretty much one dimensional. You might like what they're about, but they never say anything that really, you know, reveals anything deeper about them. And so, yeah, I would have liked to know more about John Dillinger's character or Melvin Purvis, who seemed interesting. They just either a tough guy or a nice guy, and it was too much gone into making Dillinger so likable. First off, casting Johnny Depp as, you know, the handsome John Dillinger, and then making him sweet to where, oh, he's Robin Hood. Sure, he's Robin Banks, but these people, the common man likes him. I'm like, not if you're one of his
Well,
stick-ups,
real quick, being that you mentioned those names, I know you want to say something since we brought these names. The plot of this deals with Dillinger's capture, well, not even capture, where he was actually caught at the famous theater that he was at. I forgot the name of that theater.
Biograph.
The Biograph Theater, where he, of course, at the time, he was watching Manhattan Melodrama, and he was eventually shot and killed at that place.
Spoiler.
Well, it's
What are
very
you talking
famous.
about,
Now,
man?
hold on.
This is
Hold
history,
on.
you know.
Yeah, except our crowd doesn't know that.
Well, they
No, it's-
should. Read
it's
a
funny.
fucking book.
Yeah, I'm with Corey on this
Now,
one.
hold on. The main problem with this film is that the first 2/3 of it are really, really solid and really interesting, but Dillinger led a very anticlimactic life. Once it got to the end isn't very interesting to watch on screen, and they drag it out for an entire third
Well,
act.
here's the other thing. I mean, it's not it's not completely historically accurate here. I mean, well, first of all, you have Christian Bale, as you said, is Melvin Purvis. He's the guy that J. Edgar Hoover, being that this was the period of public enemies with all these gangsters, they formed J. Edgar Hoover formed the FBI to actually fight these gangsters and one of the people that was headlining it at the time was Melvin Purvis, who was in Chicago, the head of the division going after John Dillinger. And John Dillinger, you saying you don't want to be seen as a Robin Hood type character, but he was. I mean, the movie covers people who he obviously he's known for murdering a lot of police, for getting away from jail twice, and being very charismatic during his bank robberies. So during the time of the Depression, everybody saw him as some sort of anti-authority figure, and they were rooting him on. And in fact, when he died, people treated him like Elvis, Jim Morrison. They took chips from his grave. But this movie actually deals with just the cat and mouse between Melvin Purvis and them going after Dillinger.
You act like a confident man, Mr. Purvis. You got a few qualities. Probably pretty good from a distance, especially when you got the fella outnumbered. But up close, toe to toe, when somebody's about to die right here, right now, I'm used to that. How about you?
Goodbye, Mr. Dillinger.
I'll see you down the road.
No, you will not. The only way that you will leave a jail cell is when we take you out to execute you.
Well, we'll see about that.
What's odd, though, is that the movie chose to side with Dillinger completely. He is no question the hero in this film, and Melvin Purvis is no question the villain. They totally make the cops the bad guys and the villains the good guys here. And it would mean something if they were trying to say something, but it never really feels they are. It just feels kind of like a cheap manipulative trick on the audience more than anything.
I don't know if I can totally agree with that, if only because, the first time we meet Christian Bale, he's blowing a hole the size of a grapefruit through Channing Tatum, and that was pretty goddamn heroic.
Yeah, Channing Tatum
you
is Pretty
don't even
Boy
recognize
Floyd.
him. This guy gets shot and falls to the ground. You're like, oh, this guy's a motherfucker. Oh, that's Channing Tatum. Oh, that's kind of cool. Cough, die. Hey, you know what? This is the best movie he's been in all year.
Or ever.
But
Okay, aside from killing Channing Tatum.
No, but you know what? You are right. The film does very much want you to like Johnny Depp's version of Dillinger. Dillinger never does anything bad. He never does anything wrong to wrong himself with the audience. And a lot of really great gangster movies are know how to walk that line where, like with Scarface, Scarface is an asshole.
Oh, he
you
totally
fucking
is.
hate that guy, but you love watching the portrayal of his character and you love seeing his story. They don't do that here. You're absolutely correct. They make you want to like him the whole time and play the cops off as these assholes. I mean, they stopped just short of having a scene of God, what I can't remember his name. Is it Hoover, the head of the FBI?
J. Edgar Hoover.
Yeah, they stopped just short of having him in his office making the call wearing ladies' lingerie.
Yeah.
I mean, they wanted you to hate him. Although I have to say, what I do like about this movie is the performances were really solid, especially Billy Crudup, who was fantastic as J. Edgar Hoover. See?
He did totally nail J. Edgar Hoover among many other men, but he totally nailed it.
He's like got his neck sunk in. He's like, I'm J. Edgar Hoover. I want you to go after Dillinger.
I am declaring the United States of America's first war on crime. And I'd like to introduce one of our finest G-men, Agent Melvin Purvis. Agent Purvis will be in charge of the field office in Chicago, the center of the crime wave sweeping America. His task will be to get public enemy number one, John Dillinger.
And it's impossible to actually rectify that this guy, J. Edgar Hoover, in front of me, that's fucking Dr. Manhattan. This guy, I mean, he really kind of...
Well, when you
He
look at both of them,
transformed.
all you see is a dick.
Well...
Shut up.
But no, I do completely side with Cyrus. I think they do really
Don't
slam
shake
the
your
film.
head at me.
Well, no, the thing that the reason why I said it's a cool gangster flick, because one of the reasons why the original Scarface and something like White Heat and other Jane, what was the one that Edgar G. Robinson was in? Some of
All of
his
them?
all of them. Yeah,
I was gonna say.
those movies actually brought out a policy where they made rules where you're making these gangsters too likable, and therefore you have to actually make them have their comeuppance at the end of the film.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I saw this movie doing, because it did kind of bother me. I mean, they have streets where it's a video game. He's Dillinger and his cronies are blasting cops everywhere, and there's no repercussions for that. Nobody treats it even that bad.
Right.
And even in the movie, I like the film, but the movie seems to side with Dillinger so much that they make it seem like it's easy as shit to break out of jail. All you got to do is...
I know.
There's guards there. All you got to do is hit one guard, and everybody just, like, runs out.
Yeah.
You know what I
It's
mean?
a house of cards there.
Well, you keep in mind, these are the guys that pioneered breaking out of jail.
That's true.
But even then, it's kind of like maybe the cops should be having guns. You know, instead of staying on-
It's like jail was more of an option than a sentence.
Yeah. Back then, jail
I
was...
sentence you to 20 years, or however long you feel like staying there.
Back then, it was harder to break out of summer camp than it was in jail the way they had it.
Yeah.
And the cops never even followed these guys when they were getting away. It's like, oh, he's going. Oh,
Yeah.
you Dillinger, we'll get you next time.
Yeah, don't let him pass that line, boys, or else he's away from us. Oh, damn it.
But that was
Cheese and crackers.
That's how it used to be. I mean, that was the thing. That's how it still is. But we have
Well, at Arkham Asylum.
well,
Yeah,
Well, shit,
open door
today-
policy.
well, yeah. But if Arkham Asylum actually had the security they needed, there wouldn't be any good comic books for you to read.
True.
Today, they're ready to torpedo a house from a helicopter if you run into somebody's home. I mean, you can't go nowhere unless like, we got a cat in here, y'all, trying to break out. Speaking of Dillinger.
And it's funny that cat wanted to stay and eat, and now he heard us talking. He's like, "Let me out of here!
He's like, y'all got
Open
nothing
this
for
fucking
me."
door!"
That cat pulls out a Tommy gun and takes out all of it. but
Come on, ass sent me. See?
but no, I mean, yeah, I totally see your point. Which keeps this movie from being like a great film. I think for one thing, I think it had technical problems, which made it too easy to film this movie in some parts, thus taken away from characterizations. Now, what I did like, we mentioned the performances. Johnny Depp is perfect as being the charismatic bank robber. You know, I mean, Johnny Depp is a great actor. The one that suffered again in this, I think, is Christian Bale, because I don't think he just had enough to work with to make a character.
It's weird how it's his year, and yet he keeps getting characters that don't have a lot written for him.
Yeah.
And especially with his Melvin Purvis character, I was almost willing to let it slide until the very end when they show you, Melvin's, final fate. They say like, well, and this year after this is what happened to him. And it's like, man, if he had all that going on, some of that should have been portrayed in the movie, and it just wasn't.
Yeah,
I mean, he was just showing as like he was the nicest G-man out of all the cops they were
I
working with.
really wanted to see the scene where his parents get killed and he ends up putting on the cowl.
No, it's you're absolutely right though. When you read the what happened to him at the end, you're like, wait, not a single bit of that was injected into that film, and
Right.
yet you would think that would be a pertinent part of his character.
And they don't explain
because
why.
There's nothing. But the thing is, all the characters are that way.
Right.
They're all drawn in such broad, simple strokes, and there's nothing to really like about them as real people. It's like the movie wants them to look real, and yet the actual script doesn't give them any way to be that.
It's such a Michael Mann thing to do. It's the reason why I don't like Heat, because I think it has the same problem. And the thing is, sometimes I'll forgive that because I'm like, look, this is a movie that's just trying to get from point A to point B and give you all the action. But this movie's 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
So
was it 2.5 hours?
yeah. So they had plenty of time to develop these characters and just didn't.
Well, then that's a testament to this movie for me, because I didn't feel it. I actually went pretty
It
fast.
felt
for
more
me.
like a 2-hour movie to me. But I was shocked to go like, wow, that was 2.5.
Yeah, I was surprised at how long it was. I mean, it does move at a good clip, and the thing about this film is because he's Michael Mann, he gets really top-notch people for really small parts.
Oh, I know. You're like, I know that guy and that
Yeah, it's
guy.
like, oh, hey, look, there's a small minor character played by Giovanni Ribisi. Why?
Yeah.
Because he wanted to make sure he had somebody who nailed it. And,
Yeah.
and that's the thing is, there is not a single character that you look at in this movie that you go, yeah, you know what? He was bad, or, that person. Everybody performed. Everybody brought their A game except Mann.
Yeah,
well,
very true.
was that Lily Sobieski?
Yeah, it was.
As a
Yeah,
prostitute?
she shows up
Small
briefly
part.
at the end.
Yeah,
You've
she
got-
hardly had any lines.
we already joked about Channing Tatum, who literally shows up just to
get shot.
just to get shot.
Yeah, but we were talking about top-notch people.
And yet he's still. You know what? I enjoyed watching him gurgle.
I know. His only line in the movie was, he sounded like a Wookiee dying.
You have to look me in the eye. Look me in
But you know what I thought would be fun? Another thing that this movie's testament is that they tried to bring the lingo from that period in. And sometimes it made me think that the movie's going to end up being like Dick Tracy. They have guys like, come on, boys, bring it on, you mugs. And they actually made it convincing. I was felt like, this feels like it's part of the period without being funny.
Well, something that I thought was interesting on a side note is why I recently rewatched Oh Brother Where Art Thou, that has, you know, a babyface Nelson character in it. And at the time, Michael Badalucco, I was like, oh, he's kind of doing it up. But then to watch this guy play babyface Nelson, it was almost the exact same.
Well, maybe his research was Oh Brother Where Art Thou.
That is possible.
Good.
I don't know why he would go for a comedy role to research.
I don't know.
It didn't bother me, but several people on the way out complained about the fact that Billy Crudup so nailed the kind of that lingo and that cadence and the way of talking, and nobody else did. That nobody else tried to do that, and so that kind of stuck out. I don't know how other people respond to that, but I wasn't bothered by it. But once somebody pointed it out, it's kind of like, oh yeah, I guess.
I wasn't bothered by it because, you know, there's nothing here saying that he's necessarily from the same place as all these other people.
Right.
You know, you're like, oh, well, he could be from Brooklyn.
But
and
nobody
everybody
talks
else is
like
from
that
Chicago.
anymore, you
Well,
see?
Hoover was such a public figure that who had to, you know.
Yeah, computer stop. No, go ahead.
Well, I can see how that would be because Hoover was different than these other guys who are on the street.
Yeah, he was different. He had panties on at the
Well,
time.
yeah, but I'm saying he was a public figure who had to talk in front of Senate subcommittees and be on the radio and newsreels. So he would have an affectation like that. He was very melodramatic.
Okay.
Yeah, he was filled with affectations, all right. I mean, they actually get a
fishnets.
I know. They actually get a lot of the period stuff right. They really do. I mean, if you look at the detail they put into the sets and everything, it's like, wow, you guys really went all out, which is why it's so confusing that other things seem like they just kind of dropped the ball. There's just not much soul to this thing on the whole because it doesn't have a point. There's no reason for it to exist. It's like, here's the story of Dillinger. We don't really have anything to say about it. It's just the story of Dillinger.
It does seem like either Michael Mann had a thing for Dillinger or maybe he wanted to bump it up a little bit because there's been like several movies made about Dillinger. There was one in the 70s. I think there was one even in the 90s too.
Was there?
Yeah, I think so.
Probably.
Wait,
Yeah.
was that one with Christian Slater?
I don't know. Will Patton played Mel Purvis though.
Oh, okay.
In this 90s version. I don't know. I mean, and so maybe just want somebody just say, hey, we need to make this for the new generation. So
Yeah, it's probably a script that's been floating around for a while, and Michael Mann wanted a project to experiment with.
Well, somebody said to him, how would you like to do Heat in the 30s? And he went, yeah, wow, yeah, I'd love to do that.
Do I get a lot of guns?
Yeah, exactly.
You're damn right. But yeah, so you know, for overall, like I said, it was an entertaining movie. It's definitely not perfect. A lot of things in there that people want to be divided on, so I can't really make that call for anybody else but myself, which of course is the video. But the least you could say is that it's entertaining, especially if it went by not feeling like 2.5 hours. So I'll give it a matinee.
Yeah, I want to give it a matinee, and the more I thought about it after,
Yeah, Mark?
Hey, screw you, buddy.
Yeah, what's the matter with you?
Hold on, let me hike up my trousers. No, it's just, the more I thought about this, more I'm like, I could never sit through this movie again. I could never watch this movie again. I just wouldn't have any interest at all because there's nothing to anticipate in it. I'm going to have to give this I'll give this a high rental. That's where I'm going to go. Get high and rent it.
I actually expect this to be worse than it was. I mean,
So he's looking at me laughing like, you like my joke? You don't get high, man.
No, it's just because you're high. I thought you'd think it was funny.
Hey, that's funny, man. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying I wasn't really looking forward to this movie as much as everybody else because I was like, yeah, video, Michael Mann, and I'm sick of Johnny Depp. And I was actually a lot more entertained than I expected to be. And yeah, it's not without its problems. You know, I can't give it full price. And I wish it had that emotional quality that made me go like, oh man, I just loved it. But there's so much I really like about it. And if I'd seen it for matinee, I wouldn't be upset. As a matter of fact, I may end up buying it when it comes out on video because I would like to watch it again.
Before you go on, you brought up a point I just wanted to ask you. Didn't it seem like a lot of people were saying, hey, man, you talk about all these movies going to be big. What about Public Enemies? I think that's going to be the biggest one of the summer.
Did somebody say that to you?
A couple of people have said that to me, and I'm like, really?
Wow.
But anyway,
I never thought that.
You brought up another point. Did you just say you're sick of Johnny Depp?
Yeah, he's been barking that for like 2 years now.
I'm way sick. I mean, I could not see Johnny Depp for the next 5 years and be okay with that.
Unless, of course, he does something on the internet where he's bitching at somebody on the set.
Oh, true. Yeah, if he has a meltdown, I'm all over Johnny Depp.
Wow. Yeah, you know what? I'm totally with Cyrus on this one. I would like to give it a matinee. It's very well made. It's, the acting is really some good stuff. But Johnny Depp isn't given anything to work with, so he doesn't really stand out. Everyone else stands out around him, and he's just solid. And really, when I got to the end, everyone kept asking me, so what'd you think? And I'm like, eh. And the further away I get from it, the more it becomes meh. And no, I'll never watch it again. It was interesting to see, but dude, it's a rental.
That's funny because I agree with you that this is something I won't ever break my neck to watch again. Probably not even on television, but I mean, the moment I was there, I was entertained.
There's nothing on the screen that was worth seeing it big. I mean, there's nothing that it's like, if you're going to see this, see it big and see it in a matinee. I mean, even with Transformers, if you're going to see Transformers, you see it at a matinee and see it big because it's at least pretty when it's being stupid. There's nothing that's pretty.
This might actually be better at home because you won't be as distracted by the super high definition camera stuff.
That's if you're distracted by it.
If you
liked it, which I did, it was better on the big screen.
Yeah, but you went into, to be fair, you went into this with low expectations. I actually went into it with very high expectations.
To be fair, you're the one guy that in the world that's sick of Johnny Depp.
And why would you buy it if you're sick of Johnny Depp?
Because I didn't mind him in this movie.
Oh, because you didn't mind him. All right. You go home, you got posters of Johnny Depp. Pulling out Tiger Beat, looking at Johnny Depp. Oh, Johnny.
I have a satchel full of all the fan mail I wrote him with Return to Sender on it. There's going to be a picture on the internet of me trying to hand him a yellow rose and him blowing me off.
He's reading magazines of Johnny Depp, talking like people in 30. You're the bee's knees, Johnny.
You can be anywhere.
Where are you going?
Anywhere I'm on. We're too good for them. They ain't tough enough, smart enough, or fast enough. I hit any bank I want anytime. They got to be at every bank, all the time.